First Moog, now Bandcamp. Why can't we have nice stuff? If you're unaware of what's going on in Bandcamp, you obviously haven't been on social media much, and for that I envy you. However, it was sold last year to Epic Games, and during that time, nothing really seemed to change. In the last few weeks, however, Epic has sold Bandcamp to Songtradr, and then laid off 50% of the employees. And for those of us who have come to depend upon Bandcamp as an income stream, primarily those of us who are independent artists or indie labels, it feels like a real punch in the gut, and a lot of us aren't quite sure where to go from here. As of yet, there haven't been any direct changes to the platform itself, but I think we're all rightfully feeling a bit of trepidation about it. And if you want to see more details about the intricacies of that entire corporate situation, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of videos to choose from that just dive into how everything is absolutely terrible, and something about late-stage capitalism. But this video isn't really about that. In fact, I'm going to leave all of those details to other people who actually want to make that kind of news content, because that sounds absolutely dreadful to me and isn't what I want to do at all. Instead, I'd like to talk about what our options are now as indie artists, because I think those of us, myself included, who have spent several years building up thousands of followers and loyal fans on Bandcamp, feel a little bit rug pulled right now. And although right now nothing has really changed over at Bandcamp yet, I think it does serve as a good reminder to all of us that we don't control any of these platforms that we use to grow and distribute our music. But despite what you might read on Twitter over the next several weeks, I don't think the situation is quite as bleak as a lot of artists might be fearing. Now, as great as the platform has been, Bandcamp's strength, in my opinion, was never really discoverability. And while I mentioned that discoverability is not exactly Bandcamp's strength, a lot of you pointed out in a couple of posts that I made about it that you actually found me on Bandcamp back in the early days of when I was putting out music. And I might have underestimated the sense of community of genuine music lovers that are there, and to lose that will in fact be a great loss. I do think that the editorial team at Bandcamp, which unfortunately may have just been laid off, did a really good job of curating new music and presenting it to the people who actually wanted to find it. So for that reason, I really hope that Bandcamp survives all of this, but I do want to give you some options in case it doesn't, and maybe even if it does, some things that you might want to get set up so that you don't have to worry about this kind of thing moving forward. Or, we could all go back to Twitter and just complain about it. So for most of us, the formula on Bandcamp was you build a following outside of Bandcamp and direct those people to Bandcamp, where they can support you directly by buying your music in digital or physical form and or merch. And the good news, I guess, is you can still do all of that on your own. All you need is a website with a digital storefront where you can sell stuff. And then you're still using your social media or YouTube or whatever, just like before, to send traffic to that place. Well, what about all those Bandcamp followers that you've amassed over the years that you could send direct messages to? Well, as convenient as that is, let me tell you about a little something I like to call email. You can set up email marketing yourself with ConvertKit, MailChimp, MailerLite, maybe even built into the storefront that you choose to use to host your music. And with a lot of them, you can set up automations that will automatically tag people when they buy certain things. That way you can email those people again later when you have a new release, just like you were doing every Bandcamp Friday. You can export the email addresses of the people who have purchased music from you on Bandcamp via a CSV file. In fact, I would recommend that you go and do that right away. I'll wait. This way you don't lose people who are loyal customers and people who value your music. After you transfer to a new email marketing service, you will need those people to re-opt in. Just send them an email with the option. That's just in order to be in compliance with federal law. But I would just look at that as a way to clean your list of people who don't really care to hear from you in the future anyway. I think the advantages of having your own digital storefront, just in case something happens to Bandcamp, and having your own means of contacting your fans via email are really valuable. More valuable than social media followers, because you don't own your social media followers, you actually own your email list. You can move it wherever you want, and you will always have access to it as long as you save it somewhere. So what you might lose in convenience of using an all-in-one pre-built solution like Bandcamp, you gain in peace of mind knowing that it's not going to be sold to Texaco show next week. Literally no different than before. You still have to get yourself in front of an audience. And that's kind of the tricky part, isn't it? And it always has been. This really doesn't change that at all. Despite what you will read on Twitter, because we all love to bitch, moan, and complain about the state of the current music industry or lack thereof, there are fewer actual gatekeepers today than there were in the good old days, whenever those were. But the new gatekeeper has become the amount of skills that you're willing to learn to allow you to do things on your own, and the amount of work that you're willing to put in to actually make it all happen. You may have to spend a few hours figuring out how to set up all the stuff that I mentioned before, or how to edit videos so that you can promote yourself on social media because no label is coming to do it for you anymore. Then you will have to spend years consistently getting better, not only at the music stuff that is the most important thing in my opinion, but also at the other stuff. And the main thing during that time is just not quitting even when you really, really want to. But depending on how quickly you can figure out some vehicle to get your music in front of people, it is entirely possible to turn around 5 years from now and be amazed at how far you've come and the number of people that are following behind you and really enjoying the stuff that you're doing along the way. And I don't know, but 5 years of consistently working at stuff that's at least adjacent to the things that I want to be doing anyway seems a small price to pay for everything that I ever wanted. But I think most people probably can't stick with something that's really difficult for more than a couple of weeks. And that's why so many artists today are so unlucky. A lot of air quotes in this particular video. So to be totally honest with you, I haven't the slightest idea what's about to happen at Bandcamp. I really hope that it continues to be what it has been for all these years, and that's a genuine way for fans to support artists. But I think it's an important reminder just to be prepared in case things change, because we have no control over these giant companies that gobble up all of these small entities. Personally, I feel more hopeful in the last couple of years after I started to diversify the things that I was doing to build an audience. At the time, I was primarily focused on streaming, and I realized that that revenue stream was not sustainable after one of my big tracks that was on a lot of big playlists suddenly got taken off of those playlists without any warning or control on my part, and then my revenue dropped substantially. So then I started to figure out other ways I could diversify into other things like a YouTube channel. And I'm actually really happy that I did that, because I'm still doing things that are adjacent, at least, to what I ultimately want to do, and that's make music. And if I have to teach other people how to make music along the way, that's actually pretty rewarding too. I just feel much, much more at ease knowing that not all of my eggs are in the same basket. Jerry Seinfeld once said something along the lines that you have to find the torture that you're comfortable with. And I think what he meant by that was that literally everything that's worth doing is work. You just have to find the work that you actually also enjoy doing. So don't be totally hopeless. We actually have more control today than we've ever had in the history of making and releasing our own music. You just may have to learn a few skills that maybe you didn't think you'd have to learn. You may have to work a little harder and be a little bit more consistent than you thought you'd have to be. But I think that's generally the case with almost anything worth doing. So let's hope for the best, but let's prepare for the worst, just in case. And that way you still have a leg to stand on if they completely pull the rug out from under us.